Sylvia and me.
Sylvia and
Sylvia and me. Sylvia and
Sylvia and me.
What a glorious broad is, first and foremost, is independent. Independent, and usually I'm attracted to unconventional. And when I say unconventional, you can be a mother, you can be a lover, you can have a husband, but I just mean her heart is unconventional. And she is not going to be told what should be her timeline, what should be her life, what anything has to look like. She will define it for herself.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Beckerman, host of the podcast series Sylvia and Me. Conversations with inspiring, empowering women.
Hello all, I'm Maryjane Fahey and I am the founder of Glorious Broads. It's great to be here and I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. Glorious Broads is, if you don't know it, we're on IG, we're on TT, we're all over the place. And we interview these glorious broads that I find on the streets. They're uncompromising, fearless women, and they're all over the place. Something we all have to look forward to. They're usually 50 plus, they're usually 60 plus, showing us how it might be.
Well, Maryjane, welcome to Sylvia and Me, and I am so thrilled to have you with me here today. Glorious Broads. As a matter of fact, you say you're on your fifth reinvention, but who's counting? You've been a designer, a published author, an editor, and as you said, you're the creator of Glorious Broads. You make no secret of the fact that you were 73, but if I'm not mistaken, did you recently have a birthday?
I did. Yes, I'm 74. Yeah.
Mazel tov. It's fantastic.
Yes.
And that's what people don't understand, that you can't stop the aging process. So why not embrace it and have fun with it? You say that you're aging imaginatively and unapologetically. And I love that.
Yes.
I want to go back a little into some of the inspiration for Glorious Broads. I know that you grew up in a family where there were a lot of women. You had your grandmother, your mother, you had 5 sisters, I believe.
Yep.
But there was one part, and so your family was dominated by women, yet
Yes.
there was a part that your mother played when you saw later on going out in the world and how other women were living their lives.
Yes, I would say that my mother was fearless in the house. She ran the house. My father was, frankly, pussy whipped. And then we all got to the stage where we left our home. We left the nest. And my mother, it's very Oprah, but I'm going to say she became purposeless. So once she left her mission of raising these kids, she didn't know what to do. She became obsessed with her looks. I believe she got like at least 2 facelifts at 65 and 70, only because she didn't know where to put that energy that she had. And that was such a lesson to me, to not become that. Though I love my mother, she taught me a lot of things about not to become overly dependent on my mate, not to become, rudderless when I turn really 51. So I became very interested in fierce broads. And
I love it.
Yeah, that's a history.
My mother was exactly the opposite. There were 5 of us, and my father didn't want her doing anything until we were out of the house, or at least in school full time. So at the age of 42, she went to college because she had never had the opportunity to do before that. In 8 years, she got her PhD from Columbia and just went on. And women would call her up and say, well, I really want to do this. I really want to do that. She'd say, why aren't you? They'd say, well, I'm 60 or something. And she'd basically say, get the F off the phone and go do it.
So that was some inspiration for you.
That has been, believe me, that has been. It's been great. There's another woman who had a inspiration for you. In fact, it was her obituary, Clara Cox.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about her, because from what I understand, that kind of really got you going on Glorious Broads.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know why exactly it hit me as it did, except that she was 85, and the picture of her was she was on a motorcycle, that she had this exceptional career as a journalist, that she had redefined her sexuality later in life as a lesbian, that she wrote her own memoir about herself and her sexuality in her 80s, self-published. And she died in a motorcycle accident. I mean, I was just like, okay, what is there not to look forward to in that? It just that obituary just really powered me up. And then I kind of realized out on the streets that there were so many of these kinds of women. And so informally, it started that I just start talking to them, and then I started recording them, and then I started shooting them, and then this became what it is today.
Okay, so the philosophy is it's never too late, period, end of story.
Yes.
And it's never too late. You're talking about this woman who inspired you at her age and was on a motorcycle. It reminds me of some recent interviews they did with Anne Margaret, who at 82 rides her Harley all the time.
Fantastic.
So,
that's great.
We're brought up with these visions of what old women, basically, little old ladies are supposed to look like, and we're supposed to act like. And we're living so much longer.
Yes.
We're living differently than generations before us.
Yes, very different.
Tell me what makes up a glorious broad?
Well, I just want to say about what you had just said. I used to say that everything we were told about getting old was a pack of lies, but it was a very different time.
It was a different time.
A very different time. So our generation is really rediscovering or really reworking what it can be to be old. However, I am attracted to these 80-year-olds or even 90-year-olds. What a glorious broad is, first and foremost, is independent. Independent, and usually I'm attracted to unconventional. And when I say unconventional, you can be a mother, you can be a lover, you can have a husband, but I just mean her heart is unconventional. And she is not going to be told what should be her timeline, what should be her life, what anything has to look like. She will define it for herself.
Okay. You've said, and I picked this up from your website,
Sure.
She's funny. She's had a few restarts over the years. All of us have.
Yes.
And that's the thing, that we need to understand that it's part of life.
Yes.
We change our passions as we go along, or for some people, when they decided when they were 5 what they wanted to do, maybe they didn't get a chance at the age of 50 or something, they decided to. That just reminded me, I have a good friend who had always wanted to be a firefighter. And at the age of 50, she became a firefighter. She's a volunteer firefighter for the Chappaqua Fire Department.
Fantastic.
I mean, so it wasn't something that we would do before. Also, she doesn't care what the world may think about her, except for her fellow glorious broads. And the last one I love, she likes her wrinkles, she likes her age, but don't put her in a box. Let's elevate all the bad bitches to revered queen status. That box will work just fine.
I mean, humor is a big part of what we are. almost everyone I talk to and everyone I'm attracted to, if you don't have humor about what is happening with our bodies, not with our minds, but with our bodies, how you changed, you're going to be in trouble. You have to have a sense of humor about it and be as healthy as possible. I love Jane Fonda, and I love listening to how she defines, where she is in life. Now she's 80 something, and she is so grateful for all those years of being such a strength enthusiast, because it helps her get upstairs now.
Exactly.
I think it really is important, if you can, be as strong as you can.
And do what you can. You brought up Jane Fonda. As she has discussed, she can't do what she used to do before,
No,
but she
no.
makes sure she moves, whether it's,
Yes,
taking a hike, whether it's on flat land, whether it's working with lighter weights. It's a question of doing whatever you can
absolutely.
to get yourself motivated. And as we get older, not necessarily old, but as we get older, there may be things that we can't do
Yeah,
physically.
and that's fine.
Okay. So adapt.
Yes, yes, yes,
You
yes.
and that's the big thing, is not getting stuck in where we were when we were younger, which
Absolutely.
I've never wanted to go back there, but not getting stuck in that and letting the fear of getting older. So talk to me about that, because you talk about that a lot, as far as people being so fearful of another birthday.
Well, I mean, I heard you with Ashton Applegate, who is a friend of mine, the other day, and I loved a lot of what she said. But our society and so many products and the capitalism is run on scaring the hell out of us
Oh, yeah.
about looking old and being old and needing meds, needing beauty products. So I am against all of that. Of course, if you need meds, you need,
Well, that's different.
of
Yes.
course, but I do believe in alterna, and saying no to a lot of the things that are forced down our throat, which is beauty products, which is having to look like a 20-year-old when you're a 60-year-old. I mean, if you want to dress that way, knock yourself out. But I mean, the pressure that is all around us, if you can elevate yourself, your life will be elevated. It's going to take some work, though. That kind of stuff. I read a great article by oh, I've forgotten her name right now, but was the beauty editor of Oprah for a long time. She has her own column, Don't Fuck Up Your Face. And she wrote a lovely thing about all of the women who get their face done. No judgments. I really don't make any judgment about it. But she said, I have worked so hard to accept where I am now. I'm really tired of looking at, J-Lo representing 55. Fuck off.
Exactly. Yes. We're taping this right after the Met Gala, where what do they take some ribs in and, take them out in order to get, that's another story. But exactly. And we have so many things that are just in front of us. And with social media, it's even more difficult for so many people, because sometimes all they're around is what they see on social media. And with the advertising and everything that's coming in, they don't look beyond that.
Yeah, well, that's why what we have to do is bucket. I mean, I think that the most important thing for a glorious broad, for you, for all of us talking, is if we have to live this life. I personally am not fond of getting my face done. Again,
God, no one's coming at me with needles.
no, yeah, I don't make any judgments. Do your thing, but I just want to age and be proud of my age. And there's not many of us around. Why I love, who is it? Emma Harris, that fabulous actor, when she took her clothes off and just said, "This is how it is." I want to be proud of that, and that also means sexually and sensuously to hold on to that part of us and to explore that part of us. Of course it evolves. Of course it's not what we were at 20. I don't even
But it
think
might be better.
yes. I mean, I can't hold those positions, nor do I want to. As a friend said, I always have my mouth. Such a great line.
In fact, that brings up, you did a special edition or an issue for Cosmopolitan,
Yeah.
and it was about sex after 50.
Yeah, sex after 60, actually.
After 60, okay.
Yeah.
So sex after 60.
Yeah, it was great.
And you discovered, you were very happy to find out that so many women, tell us what your experience on
Oh,
that
that was great. The casting was fantastic. And what I loved about the shoot was it was all run by young women, but young, real women. And we had a diverse race, diverse ages, meaning we went from, I don't know, 60 to, I think the oldest one, maybe I was the oldest one at 75, but they were funny, they were real, no models, no ex models. But they were very funny about sex, very welcoming about sex, and all of the young women learned something. And I think the big lesson, because we talked about this, the big lesson they learned is not to get, nervous about the little stuff when you're young. And to know that the next stage may even be better. You just have to prepare for it, not only with your health, but pivot.
Pivot is key.
Yeah, it is key. The life we're living now is very different from even the life that I had in my 30s when I had a job and I had it for 10 years. I had it for even maybe 15 years. I don't remember. But it's a very different life we're living now. And it's a great opportunity if you can hit 70 or even 80 to redefine what you're interested in. I think the kids were really interested in hearing more about that.
And what you said is so true. Redefining where you are.
Yeah.
It's very important. I think we both grew up in an era where a lot of the large corporations had specific drop dead dates that were retirement ages, and you were forced out at 60, usually at 60 at the larger companies. I know a friend of mine, her husband left one of the large ones. Gosh darn, he's not quite 70 yet. So it's got to be 8 years ago or something. He was forced into retirement. Now, luckily, he's got a lot of other activities that he does. But could you imagine, as we're getting older, just being forced into that word retirement? Because for so many people, that means, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
I don't have a job. And that's really what defined me.
Yes. Also the tech industry, they still kind of squeeze you out at 50 something. It's, it's still going on now.
Well, yes, we know it is. I've been through that in a couple of jobs, 10 years ago. Yeah. And the funny thing is that, as I said, you heard my conversation with Ashton. Nobody knows what a certain age looks like.
No.
We did years ago. We thought we did, and we keep thinking about it. And I keep going back to what women look like in the 50s because they dressed, was very constricted. Hair was perfect, the heels, the pearls, the whatever. And a 16-year-old looked like they were 20.
Yes.
Grandmothers looked like they were 80, 90 and older. And that's not where we are today. And it has a lot to do with, especially women, we're just freer in our minds. We're freer until they take some of our rights away. We're freer in how we dress. We're freer in how we think in the workforce and so on. So that, to me, yes, we get older, but we don't have to get old. And I make a huge distinction because I think people who feel old they feel it inside, and that humor that you talked about is not there. They've lost that. And if you don't have a positive attitude, it shows through.
Yeah, there's all kinds of people and how they feel about old. I'm going through a stage of honoring the word old. And I have a t-shirt, BOLD. But when people in discussion talk about old, it's always negative. It's old can be something that's filled with honor.
And be proud. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I feel like I'm going toward that age, and it's like, this is interesting. Here's a whole new, but I think I'm quite a few years apart. I'd like to talk about something, if I can just bring up a subject, because people often say to me, oh, sure, your people are glorious broads. How is that even attainable? And also the way we keep reinventing ourselves, especially reinventing ourselves.
Yes.
Not easy. And I say it's not easy because, when I was at AARP, there was a lot of stories about changing from a banker to a baker, and these happy little stories. It's really not like that. You maybe were fired, so you don't have the money you expected to. Or even if you have the money, it takes such resilience to keep up with your plan. And it also takes community, a community of like-minded women to just help you out. So I'm just saying to everybody out there, when I went through my changeover from when I was a creative director, I was a very big creative director, over to edit. That was fine. But then when I left edit to start Glorious Broad, that was a big shift. I just finished working on a television sizzle. And it took, readjusting my budget. It really takes a lot of guts to have the resilience, have a community who will help you out when you're having a tough day, and a focus. It ain't easy.
No, it's not. Been there, done that, and continue doing it all along. But it can also be fun, especially if you do have a community behind you. And
Yes.
when you feel down and feel overwhelmed, they're like, hey, this is great. Just keep at it. Keep at it. And
the rewards are plentiful.
The rewards are fantastic. Look, I'm getting to talk to you. It's not something I ever thought I was doing. I was, in the C-suite and in the insurance industry, for over 20 some odd years. And then all of a sudden things happened.
Yes.
And again, we need to be able to pivot and adapt and have that community around us.
Yes.
Who we hold them up, they hold us up, and we go out and have a drink afterwards. Yes, for some, it could be non-alcoholic. We're okay with the,
Absolutely.
I don't want anyone to, but I know you love gin. So it's a question of evolving.
And keeping the community around you positive. They don't always have to be yay,
No.
but any of your negatives, if it's wearing you down, you walk away and you realize this person continues to wear you down.
It's not worth it.
Walk away.
It's not worth it.
No.
And I understand your definition of old and how you're accepting that. For me, there's so many negatives. I celebrate every single birthday.
Yes.
As I told, Ashton, I threw myself a surprise 60th. For my 70th, I had another party, and I intend to keep having parties because I love it.
Yeah.
Because each year is different than the year before.
Yes. Yes.
A little over 2 years ago, brought my grandson. Hey, the love of my life. But we're still evolving.
Well, I have to share with you this story. I spent 2 days ago with a glorious broad and a friend. She's 101 years old.
Ah, cool.
And she is still a glorious broad person. She never liked the word broad. She always wanted to be called a glorious warrior. So to her, I just have her
Okay.
profile up. I said, glorious warrior. But she is now a part of a group called 2x2, and they are going to reshape her career at 101 years old. So she doesn't call herself old. She said, I am an antique.
Oh, cool. It's worth even more. That's fantastic.
It is so, so powerful to meet these people and you say, well, I got 30 more years ahead of me. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Hey, yeah, that's fantastic. There's another woman who inspired you. Her name is Liz Friedman.
Oh, I love that woman. Yes,
So
yes.
tell me how this woman, where she played a part in your life or
Sure,
is
sure.
still.
Yes. Well, I will say working with Glorious Broads, it has taken me away from putting people in boxes, meaning I used to say, Liz, my 85-year-old friend. Now I just say, Liz, my friend. She has taken any concept I've had about an 85-year-old. She is the strongest woman. She is the most deliberate person. She is the most focused. She is the most knowledgeable. She keeps her eyes on the culture of everything. She is my personal Auntie Mame.
I love it. Oh, Auntie Mame. I love Rosalind. Auntie Mame, what a
Yes,
fantastic character. It's what I
yes.
want to be to my grandson, but
Uh,
I have to work out a little bit more in strength training so that I can really lift him. There is one other person that I want to mention,
Sure.
92-year-old Faith Ringgold.
Oh, she just passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that because I know
Yes,
she said to you, you got to remain in the
in the
game.
game. She was amazing. Faith was amazing. She passed away, I just think about a month ago, if that. But you have to remain in the game. That woman, I will tell a little story about Faith, which was
I want
interesting.
to hear it.
Um, I had I went after her for an interview when I saw a mention of her in the New York Times. I loved her looks and I loved her story. I loved that she had been a member of the Black Panther, a feminist, that she was such a striver. We hit it off immediately. And then I went over to AARP and I wanted to highlight the fact that she had created a game. Yes, she had created a game, a little kind of a computer game. And I wanted to talk about that as well as her painting. Anyway, I did the interview, we did a video, and for whatever reason, it took me a while to get the story out. Faith called me each and every day. When's it going to come out? When's it going to come out? When's it going to come out? And she was like already in her 90s. I said, okay, now I get why Faith is a kick-ass broad. She is relentless.
Yeah, yes.
And
Yes,
that's
you
what you
have
have
to
to
be.
be. Yep. So
You
she
have
just
to be.
passed away, but since we did that little story of her, then she liked me again. But since that time, she had gotten a fantastic show in London, big shows, and I sold another painting to MoMA, incredible new gallerist. I mean, right until the day she died, she was at it, staying in the game.
Staying in the game.
Yep.
One of the things that I read that you've said is all of us should have at least 3 different ideas of lives in front of us. Can you expand on that?
Oh, I know what I meant. There's like 3 different. I'm happy to answer that. I mean that after Glorious Broads, what else do I want to be? I intend to live at, I hope, another 20 years. I don't need to hit the 100 mark. Like
20 years. Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
went
don't
about
want
25.
to. Well, the point is, think about what else you might be. I personally would love to be a playwright. I could be a sculptor in Mexico. What is the third life ahead of me? I think it's important to imagine. That's why that imaginatively is so important. Think about the possibilities of your life ahead instead of the impossibilities.
I think, I was going to ask you where you see Glorious Broads going, but I love what you just said, because everyone should listen to that and actually think about it, hear the words, because that's so important. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, they are. I can give you my possibilities for Glorious Broads.
Go right ahead.
Well, we just finished our sizzle for a television show.
Mhm.
I will just say sex and women over 50, it's a ball. It's so fun.
I love it.
We're getting very good feedback, so we're out with that. Then I have a really, really good idea for a monologue, a theater piece. Then we have a book in mind, but also I now have a partner, which has really changed my life from working alone to having this fabulous, fabulous partner. And he helps me, a gay man. He helps me reach my goals. He keeps me in a linear line, and having that, to work with you really helps me, because I can be, and we're having a ball together. It's making this so much more fun than it was.
Maryjane, before we leave, where can people find out more about you?
Sure. My IGNTT is Glorious Broads, and my website is gloriousbroads.com. We also have a YouTube, and that's glorious.broads.
Maryjane, thank you so much.
So it's great to talk with you.
You can find us on all of your popular podcast platforms. And of course, our website, sylviaandme.com. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, stay tuned.